a lot of people is spreading a lot of misinformation, and I just want to address it in this video that the Statue of Liberty is not Satan or the devil. And we really got to mature and evolve out of the spookism and the scary and the fear-mongering way of looking at stuff if we really want to wake up. So if you really want to wake up, I'm going to assist you with that today by giving you some facts, not no opinions, not no hearsay, but with the use of syncretism. I'm going to give you the facts about Lady Liberty and why she is an ancient goddess that is being demonized. So let's hop right into it because I don't want to waste no time. And by the way, today is open research. What that means is that I'm going to be throwing you a bunch of facts in no in no set order, but it's all going to be about Lady Liberty and helping us see beyond the spookism that we've been given. So let me go ahead and start my screen shares and get into it. And the first thing I want to do in the first part of this is I want to deal with the goddess syncretism, because when we look at Lady Liberty, we're looking at an ancient goddess, but me saying that ain't enough. So I want to actually show that today. Somebody actually popped up in the chat room and they put, "She's the Queen of Heaven." Salutes to them, because that lets me know that they've been around for a long time. I don't know if they saw my Queen of Heaven video or if they just knew that, but salutes to them. You're right. And just by you saying that, we'll start off with the Queen of Heaven. And here is the Queen of Heaven, everyone. This is an ancient, I hate to use the word ancient. I want to use the word old world. It's an old world goddess, and she was basically a Victorian form, a Tartarian form, or European form. I wouldn't necessarily even say European, though. But she's an old world form of Ma'at. She's another version of Ma'at. So we know that Ma'at is dealing with equality and justice for all, balance. Let's pull it up. So when we look at Ma'at, right, her wings to spread out represent equality, the balancing of the scales. You know what I'm saying? So Lady Liberty has scales just like Ma'at, and it's taught not to tip scales because she's personifying equality, balance. The word balance, another word for that is even, to be even. And the word heaven is the word even, which is why this is the Queen of Heaven. She's the Queen of Balance. She's another version of Ma'at. They all represent balance. And this the key to generate energy, because to generate energy, perpetual motion, you have to achieve balance between negative and positive. I'm simplifying it, of course, but this is why this same archetype is embodying free energy and electricity. She is in alignment with Libra, so which is liberty. And the whole thing about equality is that a world with free energy is a world without class systems, which is what we had in Tartaria. So right off the back, I want to give you guys something very important, which is Lady Liberty is another form of Ma'at, represent balance, which is liberation. In all ways, even when you balance out the chakra energies, you achieve liberation. This is spiritual, physically. This is the one true law of the cosmos that governs everything, balance. No matter what you're doing, no matter what it is, even when you're eating food, balance. So this is the simple truth about heaven. Heaven is simply having everything in balance, even. So We see how she is another form of Ma'at with her hands out, and we can see that the spikes on her head is stars on this image, but it's the same deity. So the first thing we're going to be doing in this stream is going through the goddess syncretism. I got to get y'all aware of the other variations of Lady Liberty before we can go deep with it. So one thing about Lady Liberty that makes it easy to sync her to Ma'at and these goddesses, the goddesses that represent balance, equality, is her name, Liberty. This isn't a new concept of a female archetype represent equality and justice for all, and this dominated the old world before male patriarch gods took over. Now, I'm going to answer a question for you right now. Why did they get rid of this matriarchal system in the old world under these goddesses that represent equality and justice for all through free energy, the Tartarian guild system? There was no money, no capitalism, no class systems. It was equality, sovereignty for all, heaven on earth, if you will. Why did they replace the goddesses? Because in that old world utopia, we wasn't God-centered, we were goddess-centered. And why did they replace those goddesses with gods? Because the gods represent favoritism. The gods represent war. The gods represent Zionism. The gods represent my people versus your people in world conquest. And the gods don't represent equality and justice for all. So in the background of our capitalistic system of America stands a goddess called Liberty that represents an old world system that was literally utopia. So when you're driving through New York and you're practicing capitalism and corporate tactics, remember that they got a golden calf on Wall Street, which represent this god that the pagans came over here with, the golden calf. And that is Moloch. We're going to go into that in a minute. But the thing we need to know is this. When you driving through New York, which is like the epitome of capitalism, you see in the background Lady Liberty, right? And Lady Liberty represents an old world system that is the direct opposite of capitalism. So the reason I'm pointing this out is because you're in New York, this is a monument, but it's blasphemy though. It's like it's the gods from the past and the last thing standing to represent a system that really benefited everybody. But the people who got us looking at this is just a monument today that the French gave us, which is a lie. We're going to go into that too. They know what this is. This is an old goddess, and they demonized this. They seeded the propaganda out there to make us say, well, this is Lucifer, the light bearer. The truth is that the image that we're calling the devil is an old archetype that represents free energy. The serpent that you see, which is the Ouroboros, it literally represents free energy. And I think I need to show you that real quick versus just say it. Hold on. This is the thing that everyone's scared of right here, Satan, the serpent. But let's literally break this down and show why we need to get out of fear. Here's what the serpent represents, free energy. Look at this. This is why the serpent is eating its own tail. Look at this. It represents perpetual motion. See that? Now you see why they want us to be scared of the owl too. We're going to get to that in a minute because the owl is a symbol in early America, from Bohemian Grove to Moloch that takes an owl form and a cow form, and it all represents free energy. It's just different archetypes for free energy right here, see? The reason they don't want us to look at it like spookism because they want to hide free energy, which is why I'm going to teach you why they demonize these goddesses and they turned the diva into the devil. They got rid of these goddesses because they represent an old world system of order, balance, liberty, and equality. So the fact that we call this liberty and we know ain't nobody in this country liberated. They call this country the land of the free when dude ain't nothing free about it. It's a smack in the face. Well, we get to say what we want to say. No, you don't. You're gonna get punished for that. This is like China now, right? This the system that we live under in this land is blasphemous to the old ruins and ancient building and architecture that was here before the pilgrims showed up. And it's another testament that they did not build any of these structures because they can't even relate to the systems that these archetypes represent. They got a barbaric way of living and doing business. So saying Lady Liberty to people who don't really give freedom or liberation is blasphemous. These symbols don't really hold the weight that they used to hold in the old world, and it's literally blasphemous when you think of the systems we've built on top of this beautiful architecture. We did not build this stuff. We inherited. So we're going to go into that, but I got to stay on track. The first part is goddess syncretism. So let me show you some more goddesses. We got the Queen of Heaven here. And now I want to go and skip over to the Dogon just to show you that this was all around the world. So here is the Dogon version of the Queen of Heaven. Her name is Amma. And another version of Amma is Alma. Alma as in goddess Alma Mater. And I'm going to show you why I bring up Alma Mater. Alma Mater is a goddess that represents a knowledgeable mind, meaning a person's mind. In other words, in high school, you see the word Alma Mater. It's dealing with the Statue of Liberty represents liberation on a spiritual level because knowledge is power. On a spiritual level, that's knowledge is currency, and it allows one to ascend higher to higher planes of existence, which is why we see Alma Mater right here bursting up out his box, and this is how you get the concept of Mario traveling through the worlds and pipes and stuff. Jack in the box coming up out the box. So it's a person coming up out the simulation. It would be similar to Neo busting up out his matrix pod, a caterpillar coming out of cocoon. What she represents is an awakened soul that just been liberated and freed from the simulation. And I can show you another version of this just to make it clear. Here's a Sumerian version of a liberated soul busting up out simulation right here. And you can see that the bird with wings on top of the tower became the Mesoamerican totem pole. So this is a Sumerian, Sumerian artwork right here. But when you go to Mesoamerican, you see the totem pole with the bird at the top. And this is the same concept of liberating the soul. Remember, Noah had an ark, right? And Noah freed the bird out of the ark. You see this little tower here? That's the ark right there. And you see the bird coming free out the ark. So it's the same story of liberation. And we got to talk about this dealing with Lady Liberty because this is the lost Tartarian history, spiritual history of this goddess dealing with Ma'at, resurrection, and liberation. And then part of this is not just spiritual, is ethereal and free energy. And then it talks about a system form of this. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I'll do it now. So the patriarchal form would be a story we tell called Jack in the Box. Let me show you. Here it is right here. Jack in the box. And here's another form here of a soul ascending up, busting up through the waters. All of this is, we got to go and show you what Lady Liberty represent. Here's another form of Lady Liberty. You see that this is a bird deity named Sakar from Egypt, ascending up from out of the earth realm. Liberation. Stories of resurrection before the pilgrim showed up with his Christ. Because what they're not telling you is that the people who showed up here, pilgrims, they weren't Christians. Christianity was already being practiced here. People was talking about how to resurrect. What they did, they turned it into the worship of a white dude. That's a watered down version of it, where you thinking that Christ literally resurrected like a zombie, when this was teaching how everyone's soul resurrect when we depart from the body, which is why the Bible say Jesus gave up the ghost. So this goddess here, her name is Alma, and this goddess, her name is Alma. Alma and Alma, they the same goddess, with two forms. As you can see, she's busting out of that box. Like I told you, she's coming up out the cube of Saturn. Liberated now. And a matriarchal version of this would be Samson, spreading his arms out to bust through the pillars. We've seen the story of Samson peeling back, the busting through the two pillars. Here's the bird god doing it before Samson. This is before Samson right here. All right, busting through the veil. It was all stories of resurrection. So this is what the word liberty means. We can't talk about Lady Liberty without telling you her spiritual origins and her connection to the ancient goddesses. She's just another great ancient goddess of Tartaria that has been forgotten about and demonized behind spookism. So again, the queen of heaven, heaven is even or balance. Ma'at is balance. That's what the arms represent, balance. It became Ma'at with scales. Today we worship Jesus Christ for resurrection, but we forgot how it relates to us. So I think we get the point here. I'm gonna show a couple of more synchronicities with Lady Liberty, and we'll keep it moving. But it is important to remember the box. See how Lady Liberty is on top of this box right here? That is symbolic. All of the goddesses of liberation, they are exalted up. Like, the thing about this goddess right here, the platform that she on is an exalted platform. That's called an exalted platform. It's just like the Alma Mater goddess. As you can look at her head up here, you can see the spikes, but it's only 3 of them. It has evolved over time, but it's the same archetype, evolving and morphing over time. But in the old world, it represented something totally different than just this blasphemous monument we go and look at today. We've lost all the knowledge to it. It don't hit the same. If we only knew. So let me go ahead and show y'all a few more archetypes in them, because we want to keep this thing moving for y'all. Here is another version, and this is I think either in Egypt, somewhere in Africa. Now, don't forgive me for not knowing this one, but you can see the box right up under her is the box. She got her hands raised. She's on the box. What do you think we say? I'm standing on my square. You hear that all the time, right, man? I'm standing on my square. See, but we don't know what it really means to stand on your square. This is where it comes from, the goddess. Standing on your square means you've conquered your earthly part of yourself. That box represents a false you. When you go down into that box, you're asleep like a caterpillar in a cocoon, and in the dream, you are projecting your lower self. So to stand on top of the box is to say you've risen above your lower earthly nature, or you've defeated Satan. The concept of standing on your square, that's what it means. It means you looking at a disciple, a disciplined one, a one who have full sovereign and control over their flesh. See, in the ancient system in Tartaria, that was a social crediting system, but it wasn't based upon you being a slave. It was based upon you treating everybody right. So your social crediting system directly reflected your status in society, and it was a golden rule: do unto others as you have them do unto you. Everyone was there to contribute to society. There was no money. It was a contribution-based system, which meant that the people who contributed the most lived in the best settings in society. And no one wanted or lacked anything. There was no poverty. It was just like a system of a Gale system is the proper word for it, and we'll get into that one of these streams, the actual system of Tartaria. But we know it was sovereignty, it was equality, which is what these goddesses represent, which is why the scales are balanced. So here we have the goddess alma mater. On top of the box, we have another version here. And then I can show you another version of this goddess here that y'all ain't gonna like. Now, remember when I was telling you about the golden calf? Check this out. The golden calf is another version of these goddesses. And the reason people don't like that is because this stuff has been demonized. That's why. All this calf represent is resurrection. All it represent is the same thing all the other ones represent. The ripples around it represent you rising up from the waters above, just like this God here. The waters below is the universe. See how he got the solar system around his waist and the zodiac wheel around his torso? It's what's trapping us in. It's really breaking the curse of time. This is a God called El. He's want to break free from the wheel of time. And that's when you become this higher version of the self. So I'm doing a simple, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this, but a lot of people say that the Statue of Liberty is Satan. So I got to address that at the beginning of this. Here is why they say it, because here is a deity that's equivalent to Satan. The god of the Edomites is called Quas. And if you look at the spikes on his head, it's 3 spikes. But remember, those 3 spikes, where did he get those 3 spikes from? This god is here. See what I'm saying? When they demonized the goddesses, they started to recreate these archetypes as males. And then they started to make the males monstrous, mysterious bullies. And that's how we entered spookism. Because these original gods are what y'all are calling devils or Satan. And you're linking the Statue of Liberty to Satanism or Lucifer, which means light bearer. But Lucifer never really had anything to do with a red dragon. It was just a title for the planet Venus. And the planet Venus is associated with what? Women, which goes back to goddess worship. So if you look at these gods, right, on the right is Yahweh, on the left is Lucifer. People like to talk about Lucifer, 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 but what they don't realize is Yahweh is just another archetype for Lucifer, and I'm showing you right here. They're both the light bearer. So we're going to talk about why the Statue of Liberty is the light bearer, because it functioned like a lighthouse. But the thing is this, we got to crawl before we walk. And I want to show y'all the goddesses and how they were demonized by the gods. And then we can go into the Tartarian technology, what the Statue of Liberty was, how it functioned, and the conspiracy of why they wanted to hide all this, and we'll go even deeper with it. So let's pull up some more variations. Here is a goddess by the name of Yemaya, and you can see Yemaya has a bird landing on top of her. You can see Yemaya is lifting her hands up toward the sky. There's a portal open, and she's got her hands in the same position as Lucifer, as Yahweh. Everyone's doing the same thing. Check it out. See how everyone's doing the same thing. They're lifting their hands up, and they are standing above waters. You see, there's a reason why the Statue of Liberty is on top of an island. It's surrounded by water, and we finna go into that in a minute. This goddess here is an older version of Lady Liberty. Her name is Yemaya, and you can see her erected from the waters. Same concept of Lady Liberty. The vault of heaven is what the torch is. And this is no different when we see Enoch ascending. Enoch is a form of Lady Liberty. Look, he's a patriarchal form of Lady Liberty. So they gave her a torch, and they exalted her on a platform to show that she's ascending to the heavens, right? Because liberation is the ascension of the soul out of the simulation. So when we see Enoch here, Enoch is dressed just like the Statue of Liberty with that robe on. Enoch is exalted up and has that one hand raised toward the vault of heaven, the torch, right? That's how you get the torch. So they're not really teaching us the spiritual origin of Lady Liberty and how it relates to the ascension of the soul. Now, here's another version of Lady Liberty. His goddess, her name is Ishnana. Another version of her would be Ishtar. But as you can see, she's holding on to what appears to look like an ankh. Yes, the Egyptian ankh is not exclusive to Egypt. But what is the ankh? On a mechanical level, the ankh is a Tesla coil. The ankh is a Tesla coil. It's an electric oscillator. And when we see the gods holding this ankh in their hand, it's no different than Zeus holding a lightning bolt. It's to symbolize that man has achieved godlike status because he's harnessed the ability to, he's achieved the ability to harness energy. So I'll show you other forms of the Statue of Liberty that are patriarchal. And this is Odin, Hadad, Ishtar, the Reaper, Narmer, Baal, Men. And you can see Lady Liberty. You can look at this collage and you can think about a god by the name of Zeus holding a lightning bolt. And it's the same concept. The reason Zeus is holding that lightning bolt is because man achieved free energy. We learned how to harness electricity on this earth for eons. So what all of this knowledge represent is lost history, hidden history of man being an electric guru on earth for who knows how long. What this shows is that there have been resets that have taken place on this earth and have hidden a lot of divine wisdom from us. And I'll show you how deep this goes. So when you see Zeus holding the lightning bolt, that's where we get the term light bearer. So I'm giving you a bunch of different things to think about. I'm showing you how on one hand, this is real science of Zeus holding the lightning bolt is what made Tesla dangerous. People call Tesla a god. Not many men on the earth do people give the title God. And the title of God comes with a lot of fear. People are God fearing. So people feared Tesla because they didn't understand the technology like we understand it today. So in Tesla's time, he was like a god. Look at this man. He's literally sending a current through his body. In this experiment, he charged his body to high potential. He transmitted I'm gonna read this to you. It said, in this experiment at his Houston lab, is charged to a high potential by means of a coil responsive to the waves transmitted to it from a distant oscillator. And a long glass tube waved in his hand is lighted to great brilliance by the electrical charges conveyed to it through the body. So what Tesla did, he basically powered a glass tube with his body by sending an electric current through his body into the tube, and that's what you're looking at in his hand. So this is showing you how your body can act as a conduit for electricity. It shows you how you can be wirelessly connected to the grid. So the future that they trying to build is a free energy world where, since everything in motion is generating free energy, which was Tesla vision, we find a way to harness the energy from our day-to-day activities, because all that energy is being released freely right into the grid. This is why Tesla was demonstrating a lot of stuff he was demonstrating. He was ahead of his time. It was a threat to free energy. But if you look at what he's holding in his other hand, right? I want you to look at that circular thing he's holding with the line through it. That's going to take us back to the goddess, because look at what the goddess is holding in her hand. That's called a rod and ring. They call that the rod and ring symbolism. But if you study rod and ring symbolism, it'll show you these ain't just spiritual symbols. This is electrical tools that the goddess represents. So why did they ban the goddess? Because they had to ban the goddess, because in a lot of this architecture, the goddess is holding up technology they don't want us to know about. Watch this. If you look up the rod and ring symbol, you will see it's held by the goddess. Here she go right here. That's Lilith. Another form of this is another form of, Lilith is another form of this goddess, and I'm going to show you why that's important, right? Before Eve, right? Lilith's his first wife was Lilith, Adam. Adam's first wife was Lilith. But why did they get rid of Lilith? The same reason they got rid of these old goddesses. Lilith wasn't just a companion from Adam's rib. Lilith was made by God's hand, just like Adam, and she was equal to Adam. One, know you ruling over me. Listen what I'm telling you. They had to get rid of Lilith to bring us into the patriarchy. And now they got rid of the goddesses and replaced them with gods. And they got rid of all the knowledge and the history that was represented with those goddesses. And now anyone that try to teach this stuff, they call them feminine. They call them a feminist to hide it. Or they call them a Satanist. So here go the symbol that the goddess is holding in her hand right here. It's called a rod and ring symbol. If you look at what Nikola Tesla is holding in his hand, see, because if you look up what they telling you about that symbol, they lying to you. They telling you it's symbolic, and I hate when they do the whole symbolic. It's nothing to be taken serious. It just means power and authority. But they telling you the truth. You got to read between the lines. So when you read about what the rod and ring symbol mean, they say it means power. But when they say that, the first thing your mind is going to do, you're going to think government power. You're going to think a king, right? You're not going to think electricity. So they telling you the truth, right? But they ain't telling you the truth. Because if you look up what these gods is holding, they'll tell you when the God is holding that it means power and authority. But see, that's why they had to get rid of the goddesses. because when the goddess was holding it, it goes back into all this knowledge I'm telling you about electricity. So this goddess right here, her name is Lilith. Yes, this is Lilith. And it's in the palace of Mary. Now, they got statues of Lilith in a palace called Mary. And I'm telling you, Mary is Lilith. Mary, the Virgin Mary, she's one of these old world goddesses that predates Christ. Inanna is Lilith. So Lilith was Adam's first wife. She was the other half of the Taurus field. Because when you look at the tree of life, it wasn't even about Adam and Eve. It was about free energy, and it was being personified by man and woman being negative and positive. So I'm being calm today because I got so much to teach that I want to preserve my energy. You feel me? This right here represent the Taurus field. The serpent in the middle represent how the energy is recycling up and down the pole, and Adam and Eve represent the negative and positive of a battery. The fall of Adam and Eve is representing the fall from us going from free energy to them telling you that we're burning oils and burning candles and stuff. Now let's get to the Statue of Liberty and skip around with a lot of this stuff, the problems that we got with the Statue of Liberty. The problems is the Statue of Liberty was made to function like a lighthouse. It's in a harbor. It was meant for boats to find their way when it's nighttime. But at the same time, what is Jesus saying? Jesus saying, if you follow me, you won't get lost. And Jesus saying, I'm the light bearer. Jesus wore a crown of thorns, which is the Statue of Liberty spikes. All of this is the same deity. There's a god in Egypt called Happy, which is the same deity. So on a functional level, the deity was embodying knowledge of light, navigation, and free energy. On a spiritual level, all of that's important because light, navigation, energy, we talking about the path of ascension, the soul finding its way back home, the soul being a beacon of light, the soul being infinite energy. So it all tie together. Here is a god called Zeus right here. You can see is another form of the Statue of Liberty. So what is the Statue of Liberty? It's a universal archetype for free energy. That's what the Statue of Liberty is. The Tartarians were liberated. They had a society that, imagine a world with no class system. That's what Eden was. So when we see Zeus with the lightning bolt, we don't really know that the light bearer, the Statue of Liberty, is this same concept. Here are other forms I got for you. The Pharaoh holding the Jedi pillar. All of this is man's knowledge about the ether, free energy, and light. That's all it is. So we knew about harnessing energy, but we lost that knowledge. And that's what the Statue of Liberty really represent, a whole old world of knowledge that has been forgotten about. Here's another form of the Statue of Liberty. This god here is called Yaldabaoth or Canufis Cannabis. And you can see the 7 spikes, 7 stars. Those 7 stars represent the 7 chakras, and the serpent represent the Kundalini. Okay, so we demonize this stuff. But really, the Statue of Liberty isn't Lucifer. It's an archetype, a symbol that's personifying so much knowledge on a spiritual level and all that. physical level and all that. But the problem we got when it comes to Tartaria and old world tech is that real technology, like what Tesla's demonstrating here, was turned into mythological stories about Zeus and all that. When we talk about God, we ain't talking about a dude literally up there in the sky. What God is a modern patriarchal archetype to hide the true archetype, which is free energy. The fact that all the original archetypes were goddesses, and those goddesses represented a time where the knowledge wasn't being hidden. And when the gods replaced the goddesses, then the knowledge was hidden and replaced with gods that'll bully you around and keep you dumb. Remember that the gods knocked the towers down because they didn't want humans to be smart. Remember? Humans was smart working together, and the gods said, I need to stop that and make them not work together, split their language up. The goddess represent when we was working together. And they didn't change the reason this is easy for me is because they did not change the sacred geometry. They just turned it into a man. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Here go a male version of Ma'at right here. And then here go older female version. And you can see they both are ascending from some sort of mechanism. Like, again, a genie coming out the lamp. And we got the notice about Lady Liberty so we can take the Satanism off of it so that we can now deal with the knowledge, the electricity. So let me do something real quick. I got a lot of tabs open. But the reason they got rid of Lilith and replaced her with Eve, because they needed a woman to be beneath Adam. They needed a woman that wasn't created by the hands of God. And that's why all women today don't think that they're equal to man, biologically or nothing. And that's how we entered the age of patriarchy. The frat boys and secret societies, they gotta promote patriarchy, and they got to give you names to demonize a man that want to bring up this knowledge about the goddess. You know, they'll try to make fun like you soft or something. So they got all kind of tactics to keep people from waking up to this stuff. But here go another form of Lady Liberty right here on a patriarchal level. It's called a doctor. And you can see the greenish, bluish color. That's the patina color. That's what happens when copper over time. Now, what am I saying about the Statue of Liberty and how it relates to free energy and all that? I just wanted to open up the first part to show you the goddesses and to get that out the way on how the goddesses was demonized, because these goddesses are holding electricity devices in their hand, and they had to get rid of that. Let me show you this before we get into the meat of this thing. This part is important because if you want to know what the goddess is holding, they are the light bearers. Remember that the term light bearer is a person that's walking around with light in their hand, literally. And the reason why that's so scary, people say, ooh, Satan, the light bearer. It's because Satan wanted to give man the knowledge of God, which is how to make, on a physical level, how to harness electricity, which Tesla was called a god for a reason. What we're not realizing, you would have been called a god at a certain point if you knew about electricity. Electricians in the old world were called gods to a lot of people who were we didn't understand electricity like that. So to see a man holding some light in his hand, holding up to see a man doing what Tesla doing with his hand right now with this electricity, you would be like, what the Like you only see this stuff in the sky when lightning strike. Now you see a dude holding it in his hand, and that become the symbol of Zeus, which is God. Then this is just man getting wise. It ain't that this is the real God. That's why we say Satan is the false God. Satan is the light bearer, Lucifer. It just represents man getting more technological, y'all. Every time we have a breakthrough in technology, they turn it into an archetype, which is why when you look at Tesla right here, what did that become? Zeus. Why do they do that though? They do it to hide the fact that all of the inventions we're making today were already discovered in the past, and that there have been many resets on the earth. So when you see images like this of Tesla, they want us to think Tesla is the one who laid the foundation for all of this kind of technology in our time. But even when we go thousands of years before Tesla, we hear stories about men holding power. We see images of goddesses, for example, holding the same instruments Tesla got. And when we say, wait a minute, you guys didn't invent this. You ain't as smart as you want us to think you are. You have been researching ancient patents while getting us to laugh at ancient people. They want us to think that ancient people did not have technology and that they were quote unquote primitive. Because the truth is that there was a reset on the earth, and the people who took over after the reset, they were primitive. They didn't understand technology. And after the reset, they reverse engineered all of the technology that they inherited after the reset. Everything we built up in our world in the past 100, 200 years is just us rebuilding on top of an old empire that was way more advanced than us. And the Statue of Liberty was standing at the height of that empire, which is why it's such a blasphemous now that the system we built on top of this old world, when we see these structures in the background, it's a real blasphemy to what these structures once represented versus what we've built as far as capitalism. Now, this is the image of capitalism today. People think America, they think Lady Liberty. But that's crazy because it's just the opposite of Lady Liberty. If you know what I mean, I'm saying the system of capitalism was not a system of liberation. So the thing about the Statue of Liberty, it was made to function like a lighthouse, right? But the problem is there was no electric grid established when it was built. So how was it powered? Everybody else was like burning oil, burning candles. And they said that the Statue of Liberty was basically powered with gas lights. All right. So I'll actually give you the information. I'll read it to you here. It doesn't make sense that they said that they opened up the torch. They opened it up and they placed arc lamps inside of it. Now think about it. If the statue is a light, was intended to be function like a lighthouse, why would you have to later come put iridescent lamps in it? Have you ever seen a lighthouse where they got to bring the lights to the house? So what I'm saying is this. I believe that the original Statue of Liberty before the reset in antiquity, in Tartaria, the original Statue of Liberty powered itself because it was a tower like all of the other towers that they was erecting off based on ethereal energy. These things was pulling static electricity directly from the atmosphere using an old world technological process we've lost today. We've lost it. They remember it, but they can't allow this old world system to resurrect because free energy means can't nobody be rich. The people in power today, the reason that they're in power is based upon energy costs. Inflation, the foundation of inflation is energy costs. And you can't have a debt system based upon inflating the money in a free energy system, because a free energy system just trumps any kind of debt system. It's an abundant system. It's if to generate energy it costed us nothing, everybody'll be rich right now. Everybody'll be rich. Now they've taught us that it's impossible to build a system where everyone can thrive. But yet that's what they promise, equality and justice for all. The American dream is basically if everyone work hard, we all thrive hard. It's just that the capitalistic system can't support equality and justice for all because there's not enough money in circuit. But in a system like what Tartaria had, there wasn't no money at all. Your status in society was based upon your contributions. Simple. So to think about this, it gave an incentive for people to go out there and do their best. Because think about it, versus a person working paycheck to paycheck, barely getting by, they gonna do the bare minimum. You ain't gonna expect me to go hard on my job for pennies. I'm gonna just do just enough. So when we look at the old world, everything looked better. They built better buildings. The architecture was more Victorian and fancy, and there was no money. None of that stuff was built with money. And you say, why did people in the old world put so much pride in their work? Because it wasn't no money. Your work reflected your status in society. Now think about that. What if everyone's work reflected their status in society? People will really put pride in their work. But versus a person that's just doing this shit for a check and they barely can even get by, right? You're going to have a world where shit break quicker. We ain't building quality stuff like the Victorian age. So that was the old world glory that we lost. This stuff is still standing today because the people that built it weren't building it just for a paycheck. It meant something back then, the work of your hands. It was remembered by generations. It was part of the social status system that made you, quote unquote, wealthy, but there was no money. The concept of a coin, the coin was a ranking system. It showed your status in the world. It shows you what kind of craftsman you was in your field. And based on that, you can live in the fancier quarters and stuff. That's how it is in the military. The higher ranks get to use the fancy, dorms and all that. The lower ranks, you use the old stuff. But the thing is this right here. That system works. It works. And they know it. Lady Liberty was a lighthouse, but there was no established energy grid yet in America. This is the problem we got, y'all. How was she lit? Now, they said that they used arc lamps and that those arc lamps were powered by gas. I'm going to read this for y'all. So in 1886, they decided to light the torch electrically by cutting openings or portholes and putting lights inside. Stop right there. That's from the National Park Service. Now watch this. If the Statue of Liberty was made to be illuminated from the jump, why are they going to put the lights in it, y'all? Why are they cutting openings that wasn't even there? They modifying it, y'all. It said right here, in 1886, that was the first time they lit the torch. And they decided to light it electrically by cutting openings and putting the lights in there. That don't make no sense. Think about this. Who builds a lighthouse? And then when it's time to light the lighthouse up, they say, oh, let's go bring the lights to the house. You build a light inside the lighthouse. So even the platform that the Statue of Liberty is on, it's a star fort. If you go look up the old star forts around DC and all that, this just another star fort, y'all. And they was building a lot of towers on those star forts because you had an old world system of free energy, wireless energy that Tesla was talking about, pulling directly from the ether. Pulling directly from the ether. So the reason it's called Lady Liberty is because this free energy civilization was liberated. Everyone was free. On a physical level, it represents the Garden of Eden. On a spiritual level, it represents a soul that has been liberated from the body. So they was blending all this in one archetype, mind, body, and soul, show you how currency, which is money, ties to your spiritual energy and knowledge. It's basically an old system of doing business. Today, we say knowledge is power, but today we say money is power. Which one is it? Now, you would think knowledge equates to money, but that not in a capitalistic system. Obedience equates to money. Care how knowledgeable you is, somebody got to put you on. Somebody got to pay you. And the people that pay you, you got to be obedient to them. That's boss. So ain't no true sovereignty. It's an obedience system. If there was no such thing as money, if your knowledge was directly related to power, like in the old world, then can't none stop you if you using your mind. If you got a mind with knowledge in it, you rich as fuck. Ain't no money. It's just the people with the knowledge, the people with no matter what it is, even if we building houses. If a man show up and he's smarter, he living in the fancy houses, he living in the fancy quarters. It's called a guild system. It's based on contributions. So they had coins or tokens, but they wouldn't use like money. It showed you your rank in your particular profession. And that would allow you certain amenities in society, which is dope. Can't nobody take your knowledge away from you. You see what I'm saying? But your wages can be garnished. You can't go bankrupt, broke, or homeless in a system like that. There was no such thing as poor in this kind of system. So it was a guild system, and if you was a child, the guild paid for your whole family through your parents, because your parents was a part of that guild system. The banks came and destroyed those systems and made everybody get in debt. Now our money ain't even worth. Your money sit in the bank and it's gonna become worth less and less every year. That's inflation. So we take the debt on, the rich get the bailout. Rich get richer, poor get poorer. This system ain't built for equality and justice for all. It's built for a monopoly to be ran on the masses, and that's what we see. So the foundation of inflation is energy costs. That's it. If it costs us more money to make a dollar than what the dollar's worth, guess who's gonna pay for the offset cost? We are in taxes. It's that simple. So what if we knew that it costed nothing to make a dollar? What if we knew that energy was free, then this scam that they running on us of energy costs and inflation will stop overnight. The concept of class systems, rich and poor, and generational wealth gaps is based upon one simple word: inflation. That's it. And if you understand how inflation works, you will see how at the foundation of it is an energy scam that Tesla was actually speaking against. He was talking about systems that we can govern the world with based upon free energy. But what Tesla was talking about had already existed in an old world. We already built a utopia based upon Tesla's vision. In fact, I think Tesla's vision wasn't even his. I think Tesla knew about the Tartarian Empire, and he was tapping into the knowledge of it. If you see what Tesla holding in his hand right here, that's called a rod and ring. And we see that held in the hands of the goddesses. We see that as a very powerful symbol in Tartaria, the rod and ring. Let's pull it up real quick. Especially in Samaria, you see this rod and ring symbol. This right here allow you to pass a current through your body. Tesla was saying that there were so many implications that this technology could implement. Now today they want to say Tesla was just demonstrating that electricity can be wireless and that it's safe. It's deeper than that. If you start reading a lot of the concepts on electric healing, and I did a little research on it, but this was a form of medicine that they don't want us to know about too, that you can pass currents through the body and heal a lot of different diseases. So today when you look at this image, they said Zeus was a healer, right? What do they say about this God? They said he was healing people, right? He was healing people, right? And he was raising the dead. How does the dead get raised? With a defibrillator. Clear, you give them an electric shock. Zeus is holding a lightning bolt, an electric current. Zeus was resurrecting people. Or hey, Zeus, Jesus. I'm showing you how technology in the past is hidden behind mythological stories. Now, people want to believe fairy tales, but they don't want to introduce science back into the. They don't like the idea that Jesus could have been a scientist versus a magician. But now the Bible tells us that Satan is the trickster. Satan is the one doing the magic tricks. It says that God is the knowledgeable one. So if Jesus was raising the dead, Jesus didn't do it with magic tricks. Jesus did it with knowledge. And even your Bible backed me up on it. See, y'all worshiping a false deity. You got a flawed concept to keep you stupid and blind. They're hiding advanced technology that existed in the past, and they trying to make the ancients out to be primitive, skirt-wearing jungle dwellers. And we're talking about stone empires with ethereal energy, electricity running them, that they've deleted from history. That's important. So we're talking about people healing the body. A lot of diseases that's on the earth today. They taking a lot of our tax dollars, billions, to try to find cures for these diseases, and they already know the cures. It was people talking about the fact that you can heal any disease in the body with electric currents. Now today, a person will say, well, that's dangerous. You can electrocute a person. Tesla was demonstrating that you can pass electricity through the body safely right here. But they don't want us to know the medical implications of this, is what I'm saying. So the serpent is also a symbol of healing. When you go to the hospital, you see the serpent, right? And that's why you think Satan is so evil, but Satan just wanted man to have the same knowledge of God. Satan was saying that man is being dumbed down by the demiurge. Satan is just an archetype for wisdom, free energy, power, infinity, the Taurus field. Same thing with the owl, too. This is the owl face. So we scared of the owl too. See, everything they want you scared of is sacred. The word scared is the word sacred. Rearrange it. Don't be scared of any of this shit. See, like the Baphomet, all of this stuff they made scared, got you scary. They just playing with the word sacred. Everything that was sacred to us, they turned it into some spooky shit to make you scared of it. The serpent symbolism, the owl symbolism, and all that. See, the owl just represent the same thing that the serpent represent. Knowledge of the Taurus field. And what do we see in America? A lot of owl symbolism. If you pull up the goddess Lilith, what do you see her standing with? See her with them owls. Look, pull her up. Here go the goddess Lilith. You always see her with the owls. Here she go right here. See the two owls on the side of her? See, because the goddess was representing free energy. If you look at what she holding in her hand, those are rod and rings. It's Ankh technology. Remember that the Ankh is an electric oscillator. This was all devices used for electricity. You see the owls next to her. This was all, today we may look at it as weird monsters and all that, but no, this stuff was represent free energy. Here go the goddess of electricity right here. Now you telling me that ain't the Statue of Liberty? Crazy, man. This is the Statue of Liberty right here. But what they don't want to tell us is that the Statue of Liberty is really the goddess of electricity. And that's why she holding a torch. It ain't got nothing to do with fire. It got something to do with electricity. In Tartaria, the Statue of Liberty would have been lit up from the ether. See, they got a problem, y'all. We didn't have an energy grid. We just built the energy grid in 50. And then the Statue of Liberty comes on in 1856. So if you do your research, what you will find out is that soon as we built the first energy plant in America, the first thing that they turned on was the Statue of Liberty. That don't even make no sense. There were no power lines or nothing. So that they run a power line from the energy plant all the way to the Statue of Liberty. See, we don't think about that. The Statue of Liberty was intended to be lit up during a time when they was burning candles inside of oil lamps. They was burning oil lamps in the street. It's telling you that they lied to us about electricity. Before the reset at the end of the 1800s, the world had lights on and we wasn't running power lines. Everything was a sovereign object. Every object you bought, just think about a world where, like, for example, I got a watch, right? My watch don't have a battery for it because if you wear it, it charges it if you go outside in the sunlight. So the watch gonna run forever as long as you go outside and use it. You don't need a battery. Now watch this. In the old world in Tartaria, all these structures were made to be self-standing structures that powered themselves without a battery or to be plugged in a wall. When you look at those castles in the old world, they had electricity, but you don't see power outlets. The arc, it was built inside the architecture. It's an old process we lost, subtle energy harnessing. So when we look at these buildings with the big antennas and the big towers on top, that was the power system. We was pulling ethereal energy from the atmosphere is electrically charged with free energy. All we got to do is pull it out the atmosphere. And all of these buildings were charged, electrically charged. The architecture is technology. So no one lived in a big ass castle and was burning candles on a big ass chandelier. And standing up in the chandelier would need 400 candles on it. Who gonna change them every day? And that's a lot of wax dripping on the floor while we trying to sip wine. So they lied to you, bro. Ain't no, they got us thinking people were burning candles and burning oil lamps in the Victorian age. We see architecture that we can't even reduplicate. And we thinking that these people was burning fire for fucking lights. So you got lighthouses that was being used in the 1700s, 1800s. You think those lighthouses had candles in them? People think about this, right? We've been lied to, man. We've been lied to. We just rediscovered electricity, y'all. And they deleted an old world out of history. And the Statue of Liberty was part of an old Victorian old world empire that they not telling us about. It was an advanced civilization of free energy. It was a utopia. And this goddess is all around the world. She was part of a whole worldwide empire of free energy civilizations. And these things weren't powered with oil and candles. Who climbing up to the top of that to change candles? All of these lighthouses that they was using in the 1800s, you think they was burning oil? And you think they was burning gas in a lighthouse? That's what they teach you. That's what history teaches us, like we're freaking fools, man. You got to be a fool. You gotta be a fool thinking that a ship gonna find its way to a lighthouse that's burning candles. How much illumination you think that's gonna allow for the ship to see miles out, y'all? We've been lied to. You think all of these old lighthouses was burning oil and gas and candles for the ship to find their way? Man, listen. So these, and you know, when nobody running a power cord way out there in the ocean, these lighthouses are isolated. I got a question. How was they lighting up? See, they hiding this ethereal knowledge, y'all. See, these lighthouses was pulling energy directly from the ether. They wasn't lit up by the processes we know about today. We lost some real advanced knowledge of free energy. Same thing with the Statue of Liberty. Who running a power line way out there to that island in the 1800s? Ain't nobody running power lines to the lighthouse. Well, Sanchez, the lighthouse had wireless energy. Okay, well, they said that didn't exist yet. That's the problem. I'm saying it did. That's the only thing makes sense. They gotta be lying. So that's a lot of candle wax and candle burning every street light. Let's change the oil in it. Man, that's a whole infrastructure just for candle changing. Just for chandelier. And we went for it, y'all. We went for this crap. So the biggest thing about the Statue of Liberty that's hidden right in our faces is, how was it lit in the early 1800s? Before we complete, because remember, I'm finna give you the exact dates right now. I'm gonna give you the exact dates. And when the Statue of Liberty was first lit, Nikola Tesla would have been 30 years old. But let me find some for y'all. So we built Pearl Street, Thomas Edison's Pearl Street Station in New York. The first electric power in America was in 1882. Before that, we didn't have no electricity. Not in a way that, okay, where your houses is lit up. No, everyone had no power. See, this was a reset that took place. All of these houses and buildings, you think people was in the dark burning candles? What lit up these big castles? Because you see chandeliers in there and ain't nobody burning candle wax above their head. The fact that I believe that makes me mad that they made a fool out of me like that, man. Now, the thing is, we didn't have an electric grid, so how was these lighthouses functioning? How was the Statue of Liberty lit? I'm going to tell you, they said, well, they brought in iridescent lamps. So let me get this straight. Y'all built the statue that you intended to function like a lighthouse, but when it was time to light the motherfucker up, you had to go get the lights. Hey, y'all, we forgot the lights for our lighthouse, man. Go get the lights, man. You forgot the lights, nigga. I mean, it's just a lighthouse. Hey, bro, listen. That's the most foolish. Come on, man. So you know what this tells me? This tells me that the Statue of Liberty used to light itself with some knowledge that we lost. And when we lost the knowledge of how the Statue of Liberty originally lit itself, we went up there with lamps and shit trying to reduplicate. Bro, we are a post-reset civilization that lost the technology of our ancestors who were gods. And that was a cataclysm that took place on this earth. It set us back. It set us back. So the torch is made out of copper. Did y'all know that? The Statue of Liberty torch is made out of copper. And when you go inside of the thing, it's spaces to wrap coils. So think about this. This sounds like some Tesla technology. And I hate to keep giving Tesla credit because it's Tartarian technology. But why is there so much copper at the top of the Statue of Liberty? In the hat part, like that, the highest part of the Statue of Liberty is made of copper. Everyone know that copper is the greatest conduit for electricity. Why is the torch of the Statue of Liberty made of copper and gold if it was intended for you to burn oil in it? You hear me? You don't listen. Anytime you're gonna be heating something up every day, you don't use copper and gold. You know why? Those are malleable metals. Copper is so malleable, right? As soon as you heat it up a little bit, you can start bending it. Why would I make a freaking torch out of copper that I'm gonna be literally burning oil lamps in, a combustion type flame in it? That's stupid, man. So we know that copper is the strongest conduit for electricity, and the highest part of the Statue of Liberty is made of copper. Everyone know that the atmosphere is charged with electricity. And in my theory, the Tartarians that built Lady Liberty right here in America, because we've been lied to. They said that the French built the Statue of Liberty in France and they disassembled it, shipped it to America on wooden boats, and assembled it back on this island. Now, if you believe that, you're crazy. Here go the kicker, though. They got pictures of it, which is why I was telling you AI been around. Photo editing technology been around since the 1800s, ever since photography. They've demonstrated this. They've demonstrated this in old movies that we can achieve the same effects they got today back in the black and white days, but it took more work. If you don't think that history has been edited, deleted, tampered with, something wrong with you. I don't trust a lot of the photos that I see from the past because I'm realizing they had photo editing software even when we was taking black and white images, where you can take people out the photo and add people into the photo that wasn't there. Go do your research and prove me wrong. I dare you to prove me wrong. That's how bad I am. I dare you to prove me wrong. See, this right here prevent anybody from saying he don't know what he talking about or he's lying. I'm telling you, go on YouTube, anywhere you want. Pull up early photo editing techniques. Pull up, you can even go to ChatGPT. But we had the ability to manipulate photos, to place stuff there that wasn't there and to take stuff out that was there. And to know that we had that ability, it ought to make you re-examine every photo from the past that they used to prove history. So there's several photos of them moving the Statue of Liberty, France, but it don't make sense. Our steel technology wasn't at the level. Think about this, right? During the time they said France built the Statue of Liberty, we was building wooden shacks and we was riding dirt roads with horseback. That don't add up. If you can build a steel statue that's as look at how advanced the Statue of Liberty is. That ain't no small potatoes. That's an advanced structure. Tons of steel. You're telling me the people that built the Statue of Liberty was living in wooden beat up shacks and riding on dirt roads? It just don't make sense. And you telling me that they're hauling this steel architecture, wooden boats, wooden horseback, it don't. Even the equipment you using to transport the thing is primitive. You ain't no way you're working with steel like that. So I'm telling you right now, it don't add up. That's just like when they say, well, we built the San Francisco City Hall. This is Tartarian architecture that we inherited. All of these buildings that date back to the early 1800s, the Pilgrims ain't built that. You think that some dudes that came over here on a wooden ship with hammers and chisels built these stone complex structures that we see, made of tons of steel, tons of concrete, and they was hauling it and lift. So you telling me they lifting steel beams that weigh hundreds of tons with wooden cranes? You gotta be a dummy. During the time of all of these, when they said that they was building all these structures, the most advanced crane systems we had were wooden cranes, y'all. How are you building steel structures, but everything else you using is wood. How come your tools haven't evolved with the structures you building? You see what I'm saying? So we've been lied to about history because they telling us that the pilgrims built these structures. They're telling us that the pilgrims built the old 1800 Victorian style architecture that we see on the West Coast, on the East Coast when they showed up. And my thing is, why were they building wooden shacks in the Wild West if they built the Statue of Liberty? Like, how are you living in a wooden shack in the Wild West, but you telling me you built stone structures? You're telling me that y'all are the Greeks. You built the stone Colosseum. See, these people are stealing history from an advanced old world civilization that was worldwide. The Vatican is an ancient real estate scam company. What do I mean by that? All of these temples and cathedrals all around the world, they wasn't built by the Vatican and the papacy. They was founded and inherited after the reset. And we talking gorgeous architecture. When you look at Vatican architecture, it's the same Tartarian architecture we see all around the world. So basically, after the reset, what we call in the Vatican is a religious order that squatted on all of the old temples and stuff that the Tartarians built. They the synagogue of Satan who have set up shop in these beautiful palaces and temples, but these people was building wooden shacks, and you telling me that they built all this stuff like Grand Central Station in New York. You know how many hundreds and thousands of tons of steel that's made out of, and you telling me they was hauling that on horseback? And they were lifting these steel beams with wooden cranes and ropes. We got to quit being lied to, man. And yet they was living in wooden shacks. So there was a reset on the earth. And after the reset, some dumb people took over the world. And they've been trying to reverse engineer ancient technology and say, look what we discovered, this new technology. That's old technology. Ain't none we doing new. We're trying to get back to a greatness that once was. We've built the wasteland on top of heaven, nigga. That's facts. And the crazy thing about it, y'all, it's the lies that's right in front of our face. When you look at the Statue of Liberty, you'll never look at it the same after this video, because one thing gonna be in your head. How the hell was this thing lit? They're telling you that the first energy plant in America was built in 1882 and the Statue of Liberty was lit up 4 years later. So we built the energy plant, and the first thing we decided to light up was the Statue of Liberty. Come on, y'all. I'm going to tell you the real truth. The truth is that the Statue of Liberty is the ancient goddess of electricity. And what they did, they reverse engineered the guts. When you go up in the Statue of Liberty, it's empty, it's hollow, it's a shell. But you can see mounts and little places for tools and mechanisms and technology. I believe the Statue of Liberty was a functioning lighthouse and also part of the ethereal wireless energy grid of Tartaria. It was a checkpoint in that system. It was a worldwide free energy system. And the Statue of Liberty was just another object part of that wireless grid, which is why the top of it is copper, is really a tower / lighthouse. So it's not only a receiver of ships at sea, but a receiver of free energy as well. So the Statue of Liberty is a goddess. It was the goddess of electricity in the old world. And when we see Tesla right here holding the rod and ring in one hand and the torch and the light in the other hand, that's what the Statue of Liberty is doing. But instead of them giving it a rod and ring, they gave it a little tablet. I forgot what it's holding. Don't get me to lying, but it's holding up a torch in one hand, and it's supposed to be like a rod and ring in the other hand, because this is a goddess of electricity. This statue is representing the same concept that Tesla is representing right here. And you can see other goddess holding the rod and ring too, to show you that the syncretism is on point. So the Statue of Liberty is the goddess of electricity. Let me pull up the goddess of electricity though, so y'all can see. Now here go the goddess of electricity. And you can see that this is just Lady Liberty. And they got another version of her right here too, in Hollywood. But it's the goddess of electricity. They got her holding a candle in her hand. That wax will be dripping all on her face. But yeah, this Hollywood company give her like a candle. That's a candle. But if you go and pull up the original goddess, look what's in her hand, a bulb. That's what Tesla was holding. Tesla was holding a light bulb, and he illuminated the bulb with his hand. So Tesla was embodying the goddess knowledge. That's what Tesla was doing. And I'll show you his image again. And we can compare them side by side. This is what he was doing. Tesla, see what he doing? Tesla illuminated a light bulb with his body. That right there should have made us rethink everything we thought we knew about physics and electricity, but it didn't. They suppressed this knowledge, y'all. So if you talk about stuff like this, people will call you crazy. But Tesla saw this stuff like this. Like, here go the goddess of Tartaria. That's Lady Liberty. And she's lighting up the bulb with her body, with her hand. Tesla did that a lot. But they try to say, well, he was just showing you energy is safe. No, he was showing you that everything walking around is already connected to the energy grid. See, when Tesla passed the electric current through his body, he didn't feel nothing. I researched this stuff, and they said that it's dangerous to try to do what Tesla did because you don't feel nothing. And the fact that you can't feel nothing makes it more dangerous, because there are dangers to it, and you can basically die from doing it, but you won't even feel nothing. So when you research, when you say, well, Tesla's Houston experiment, when he passed the current through his body, isn't that dangerous? If you ask ChatGPT, it'll say it's very dangerous because you don't feel anything. So if you turn up the frequency, it ain't like, a stun gun. And there's literally a current going through your body, but it ain't like you're being electrocuted. So this some stuff that should have been studied more. And it's like, we know that there are a lot of cancers and things in the body that can't survive certain frequencies. And Tesla was talking a lot about implementing this with health. And they want to delete that by saying, well, he was just demonstrating that it was safe. Tesla was talking about healing the body with electric baths. He called it an electric bath. He said you can reset the aura, you can reset the entire, physiology and chemistry of the body by passing certain frequencies through the body. So there's also something called biological charging, but they say it's a pseudo theory where people talked about using putting energy directly into the body. And you know, like when you say, I'm feeling tired, man, I'm always tired. Our body is electrical. The feeling of tired that you feeling is a result of a lack of electrical energy in your body. There were people talking about biocharging where they was using the same science Tesla was talking about to directly inject energy into the body. Just think about what I'm saying here is not really far-fetched. Is just think about this, right? Think about this, right? When you eat food, the body is turning the food into electricity, into energy. And the water you drink is a conduit for the electricity. Eating is just so that your body can turn what you ate into energy, and then it poops out the rest. What if we can bypass that and just put energy directly into the body? People say, well, we eat so we can have energy to go and work and to go do whatever we want to do. But I don't know about y'all, after I eat, I be tired. So food don't give me energy. They design food to take away energy from you. Food is something you put in your stomach because your stomach get this feeling. But they telling you if you don't eat, you'll get weak, right? So it's directly related to strength. The world don't have the same kind of energy that the Tartarians had. You haven't experienced full potential when it comes to how much energy your body can hold. They got us operating at, like when you put your phone on power saving mode, battery saving mode, they got the whole world on battery saving mode, where you using just enough energy to be a slave and go to sleep and die. But in the old world, people had a vitality of energy that we can only imagine. The body was different. But the concept is simple. If our food is turned to electric energy by the body, and everything we eat is just to put electric energy back into the body to power the body, can we just directly charge the body like a robot, like a cell phone? So that's the foundation of the whole thing of biological charging. Now, this theory can go real deep, and I don't want to take y'all that deep down the rabbit hole, because a lot of people were saying the old world humans didn't eat. Yeah, that's a theory. I don't want to make fun of nobody's theory, because I'm going to keep my mind open. You never know. But that is a theory because you don't find sewage systems in the old world. And people, you can't find what they was doing with waste. And they got these beautiful temples and castles and cathedrals. Guess what? In antiquity, these big, beautiful mosques and temples that was built by the old world humans, they didn't have like a restroom in them. We came and put that in there after the reset. So that was very interesting too. That a lot of these structures that's built in the ancient world, well, a lot of the ancient cities and the Tartarian settings that we see, you don't see like sewage systems where they flushing their poop and, you know, sending it underground to a waste treatment and all that in a lot of these settings. But I'm not ready to go there yet, man. I think that's a reach, though, when people say you got the breatharians and the people that say, well, the old world humans didn't have to eat. I'm not gonna shoot y'all down, but I'm just not ready to go there with it yet. I think that they did have, in fact, they did have some advanced sewage treatment plants. They just was above ground, and we don't know that they're treatment plants because they're Victorian. They look fancy. You wouldn't think that this was created just to treat poop because it's so fancy. You would want to live in there. But that's the way they did it in the Victorian age. Everything they built it fancy. You can be walking up in a poop treatment plant and you think you in a damn palace. And they actually got one in Chicago that plenty of people mistake for like an exquisite living quarters, but they'll tell you this is just a Victorian treatment, poop treatment center. So it's a lot of stuff hidden right in our face too when we go looking at these 1800s and all these old structures. But I will say this. I do think the food changed. I remember there was a lot of theories about how the fruit today look different than what it used to look. How the bananas look different. You know, let me show you today. They said that our fruit today look different. It got less seeds and all that. Now, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying I believe all of this, but I don't think they changed it thousands of years ago. I think this just happened pre-reset. 200 years ago, bananas looked different. 200 years ago, watermelons looked different. Now, they want us to think it was like in the 1500s. They going back far. But I think the last reset, everything mutated. Not only the humans, the fruit too. But that's what I was saying. Not only the fruit and the humans, but the spiritual system. The spiritual system's mutated. The knowledge about the goddess and all this stuff right here. So yeah, the Statue of Liberty, she's a Tartarian goddess. Lucifer, the light bearer, is the fact that they demonized this goddess. You know what's so sad, women? You got God and the devil. That ain't fair. They don't got God and a goddess. Now think about it. That'll be like saying you got the yin and a monster. Why? How come the yin can't have an equal partner? Yin yang, counter, balance, equal, opposites. Equal, keyword, equal. This is why they got rid of Lilith. And what I'm telling y'all, Lilith is associated with Libra. Lilith is associated with Libra, and Lilith symbolizes energy and power. Now, go figure. What am I telling you? The goddess Lilith is liberty. Lilith is just another archetype of free energy. See, this is what you don't realize. Before Eve, Adam's wife was his counter equal opposite, and together they both represent the Taurus field, the yin and the yang. You see what I'm saying? Adam is just 50% of the battery. Lilith is the other 50%. A battery needs 50-50 for it to work properly. You can't tilt the scales. That's what Ma'at represent, 50-50. Ain't no, so that's how you create energy. So that's why Adam's first wife wasn't beneath him or above him. She was side by side, which is when you look at the tree of life, you see them side by side. That's showing you that there were balance, because in later patriarchal concepts, guess what we see? The woman walking behind the man. But this here in the Garden of Eden was showing you yin and yang. You can't put the yin and they're equal, man. Masculine, feminine, equal forces, equal polar forces. Ain't no lesser and greater. It's just polar opposites of the same energy. And they try to make it like, well, man is stronger than woman. Because they want to equate strength to just arm wrestling, hunt animals. And that's stupid, man. If your mind ain't strong, nigga, I don't care how strong your body is. I can control your big, dumb, muscular ass. You big weightlifting dummy. It'll be a skinny nigga telling you niggas what to do. It'd be like, let me call up my boss. And it's a little skinny nigga. Because he's doing the thinking. So, yeah, man, niggas forget that part. They forget that the women, when it comes to intuition and the mind, that the women are more mental because they are less physical. And just the opposite with men, we more physical, less mental, which why we say, bro, I ain't doing no talking. It take mind power to talk stuff out, to be intellectual. Women talk. And gossiping wasn't just small talk with women. It was negotiating political situations and ending wars. Because before we use guns, we use fists. But before we use fists, we use intellectual debates like what they do at the UN. So people say, put the guns down, put your fist up. Okay, after that, put your fist down. Let's pick your brain up. We should be scholars. We should be having intellectual debates to solve our problems. That's how we used to go to war with each other. If two men had a disagreement, whatever the disagreement about, we're going to sit down, argue about it. We're going to have a debate. We're going to have judges, and the smartest man win because it's intellectual disagreement. That's all politics is. But see, men, we say, look, we disagree. Let's just fight. And the strongest man win, he get to control everything. Well, when we do that, we gonna have a world that's ran by a bunch of strong dumbasses with that kind of system. If we have an intellectual disagreement and a person say, well, let's fight, and the man who's strongest, we gonna go with his idea. His idea may not be the best idea. Well, but he beat you up in a fight. That's stupid. You see what I'm saying? That's capitalism. That's the kind of strength, like that's why the world's so stupid. Because knowledge is power. But they got you thinking that it's all physical stuff. It's intellectual property that got these people in power. It's old patents that they stole from our ancestors. Intellect, man. Intellectual property. It ain't got nothing to do with muscles and lifting weights. It ain't got nothing to do with going to the gun range and being a good soldier and I can fight and I can shoot. It's got something to do with I can think. I can outsmart niggas with psychological tactics, social engineering. See, the people in power with them small hats on, we stronger than them. Them niggas ain't built like black men. Let me show y'all something real quick. Look at these small hats, man. They ain't got more muscles than us. Look at these little dudes, man, with they suits on. Look at man. These dudes ain't at the gym every day, man. I doubt it. They ain't built like us. But on a mental level, they're monopoly men. They're what the Bible, they're what we call the wise guys. These dudes don't gotta be physically stronger than you. They understand the monopoly board and how to move on it. See, the average guy just want to be strong enough to beat up the next dude at the bottom. We're not really competing with these guys because if we were, we would work on our minds more. And you will learn how to play chess more. But now, the thing about it is this. I don't want to be all over the place. Lady Liberty is an ancient goddess of electricity. And she was lit up with ethereal energy. All right. Now they got us thinking that they was burning gas lamps in that copper torch. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. You wouldn't burn oil and gas in that copper torch because copper is malleable. But we do know copper is a good conduit for electricity. And here's my theory. We didn't build a Statue of Liberty and it didn't come from France. It's been here. And they rewrote the history after the reset. They can tell you anything after the reset. They can tell all the new humans, France brought this, right? And long as they date to when France brought it, years before the reset, nobody be able to prove it post-reset. And that's what happened. When the squatters who took over the world after the reset, when they squatted on this statue, they didn't know how to light it up because the technology that lit this thing up, it was lost. And the Statue of Liberty didn't need to be plugged into a wall. They didn't run power cords out there to the island to plug it up. They weren't burning oil and gas and candles in the doggone lighthouse. So again, this question ain't just for the Statue of Liberty. It's for every lighthouse that was functioning in the 1800s. How was they lit up, y'all? There was no energy grid according to them. So the lighthouse being lit up is a problem because people weren't burning oils because that ain't sustainable and it's dangerous. If you set that lighthouse on fire, you're done because you in the middle of the ocean. It's going to take so long for anybody to get out there to help you on wooden boats. And imagine you got to keep going out to the lighthouse every day to bring more gas, more fuel to burn. And all of that smoke you breathing in, ain't no soot in them things. If they was burning, if they had combustion burning going to light up lighthouses, we would see soot. We would see gray charred areas. You don't see none of that. And then also, it ain't a reliable light source for a ship that's miles out sea, that's miles out at sea. Because fire isn't very bright. Fire ain't bright at all. And when you miles out at sea, you ain't gonna, come on, bro, you gonna get lost is what's gonna happen. Talking about burning some gas in a lighthouse. You need a consistent, bright, white light is what you need. Not lamps. So they want us to think that someone was going out every day to bring more gas to burn in the lighthouse. On wooden ships, that's a lot of gallons of oil and fuel to burn in them lighthouses. That's a whole operation on wood ships. And you got to keep it burning consistently, non-stop. I don't even think come on now, bro. That y'all believe that? And you sitting up in this thing with a combustion flame. Come on. They give us images of a flame coming up out the torch. That's mind fucking you. They show you images of the Statue of Liberty with fire coming out the torch to throw you off. When it's copper, it was clean light. So the goddess of electricity is showing us the truth. See, they turned that into a torch with fire coming out. But really, it was a light bulb with clean, pure energy, no combustion. You see what they did, y'all? That's why they had to get rid of these goddesses. You can't have goddesses like this today because people gonna ask questions like, what's up with this electricity in the early 1800s? Why do we have a goddess that's represent electricity in a time when we don't have it yet? When people living in the dark in wooden houses, it don't make sense. That's how come I know that this is a Tartarian goddess. The Tartarians would have had a goddess of electricity. And then they turned this into Zeus with a lightning bolt. And they had the knowledge of free energy with the gods. And they made the gods bullies. And that's how you get religion. See, these goddesses were just archetypes to teach us about pulling energy from the ether. And when they replaced them with the gods, well, the gods don't teach us none about power. They enforce power on us. You see the difference? They say, well, God is power. Yeah, God is a plagiarized archetype that symbolizes energy. People weren't looking up in the sky praying to God. They was looking up in the sky acknowledging that energy is in the atmosphere. What is God? Energy. Simple. God is energy. And when people looked up in the sky, they knew energy was in the atmosphere. That turned into God in the heavens. So that they hid free energy and brought us into religious programming. But religion ain't nothing but an ancient spiritual system that was reminding us of free energy and sovereignty and liberation and justice for all. That's all it was. That's all it was, man. So they demonized these goddesses. And now people say the Statue of Liberty is the devil. That's new age programming to stop your awakening. You got to get out of spookism. The Statue of Liberty is the ancient, old world goddess of electricity. And they were matriarchal in Tartaria. And it was equality for everybody in Tartaria under the goddesses. Because the goddess embodied the knowledge you needed to empower yourself. These male gods, they hide the knowledge behind mysticism. We serve a mysterious God. There was nothing mystic about the goddess, just free energy and the knowledge of it. That's it. So people looked up in the sky and they knew energy is in the atmosphere and we can empower ourselves with that. And now they got you looking up saying God is in the heavens and that's going to give me power. They mind fucked us, man. They got you thinking we at the bottom because it's God's will for the saints to suffer. We was living in luxury, man. God want us to be balling out. But we forgot the knowledge that made us great and made us sovereign. Knowledge is power. You can keep thinking God is power and we can stay powerless. You can't replace knowledge with this concept of God, because then you're going to have a bunch of dumb people who don't want knowledge. They just want faith and belief. And a people like that going to be doomed. I don't care how much you double down on your faith and belief. Knowledge, the only thing going to empower our people. And these people will double down on their stupidity. The devil is a lie. I love me some Jesus. And they'll double down on their faith and belief. And that's the problem, y'all. It's a stubborn, egotistical form of cognitive dissonance. They got people looking up in the heavens for God, but before that, we was looking up in the atmosphere for energy. That's it. Christianity was a technological spiritual system of free energy and pulling energy from the atmosphere. That's what the original Christianity was. And the cross was a siphon. It was an electrical device to assist with with harnessing the energy. And they turned Christianity, the people who aren't Christians, they are barbarians. They corrupted Christianity and turned it into a religion of ignorance, where people praying to a God for power versus people seeking knowledge for power, which is what the original Christians were, knowledge seekers or Gnostics, Gnostics. They weren't believers, which is why they was able to empower themselves. These, so I think we get the point there. I just think it's amazing how we went from energy in the atmosphere to God in heaven is my power. Like in Tartaria, we knew our power is coming to us from the atmosphere, harnessing energy from the atmosphere, and they turned that into your power come from God in heaven. We lost so much knowledge behind this religious programming, which is why I can't rock with religious folk. And they give niggas a pat on the back for being part of a religion, for praying to an imaginary friend and shit. Like, if you show up talking this knowledge, folks ain't gonna want to hear it. But if a nigga say, man, I gave my life to Christ, there you go, baby, clap it up for him. That's why I just can't rock with religious niggas, man. And a lot of niggas know what they be doing. They be looking for a safe identity. It's safe to be a Christian. It's safe to be a Muslim. It ain't safe to be a flat earther. It ain't safe to just be a nigga that ain't nothing, that's just thinking outside the box for your damn self. Now, you ain't safe. You don't belong to no group. And that's, you just a strong man that's willing to stand alone seeking the truth. And a lot of niggas can't do that. They gotta be part of these religious groups and shit. I can't respect that. They need a daddy, an imaginary friend, and a bunch of niggas around them. You know what I'm saying? They need something to hold their hand when it come to taking the moral high road. But niggas don't need all that when we out here terrorizing these streets. That's right. Niggas can do bad all by themselves. But when it's time for them to do good and change their life, they need a sky daddy. Dad, come help me, man. It was God that helped me get rid of this life of gangbanging. It was Jesus that helped me give up this drugs, man. God damn it, nigga. You can do bad by yourself, but you need help to do good. Yeah, I can't respect it. But I'm trying to see. I know I'm leaving a lot of stuff out, man. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm supposed to be opening up the call line, but it's only gonna be for smoke. Let me read the donations, man. I don't know. I don't want to really open it up on an open panel. I just really want smoke. But let me read donations. I really appreciate y'all's support. Let me give a shout out to Sally McDermott. Appreciate the donation, Sally. Miss Make Me a Drink. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Shout out to my brother Dreezy Dre Awakening Minds. He said, keep cooking, fam. Well-informed stream. Flat power. I appreciate all these super chats. Shout out to my sister Jewel. How you doing, sister? Appreciate all of my channel members. Drop a 1 in the chat room right now if anyone got smoke for me, because I don't really want to do like a big open panel, but I'll accept smoke. I got to work on some documentaries and edit some stuff. So if anyone got smoke, let me know. Drop a 1 in the chat room right now. Drop a 1 right now in the chat room and we'll drop the call-in link. If I don't get no 1s, then we can just close out. Because I ain't trying to really have a long, drawn-out panel. I ain't got time. But I do got time for smoke. I gotta prioritize, and we're gonna make it for smoke today. Shout out to Chris Steiger. Thank you for the support, Chris. Appreciate the love. So make sure that's everything. Yeah. I don't see no ones, so I'm gonna get up out of here. Appreciate y'all. See y'all on the next one. Peace.